And welcome back to Sports the NEMO Way, the Larry Bird episode. The 6'9", 220-pound small forward is a 3-time champ, 3-time MVP. He's a 12-time All-Star, 10-time All-NBA, playing 13 years in the league after being the 6th overall pick, and he is a Hall of Famer, with career averages of 24, 10, and 6 on 49% shooting. And I didn't prepare to who to go to first. I didn't ask before we started. So, Ray or Drew, who would like to go first?
Do you want me to say where everybody has them ranked, and then we can kind of go from there, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, I have rankings if you want.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, what's that ranking? Ray has them the highest and Drew has them the lowest. That's why I went there.
Ray can start tonight. I started last week.
Okay. So Ray has them ranked the highest at number 2 overall and number 1 on his small forward list. Ray?
All right. So Larry Legend, a fitting name for a player on this list. Let's see. What makes a basketball legend? We're going through a checklist here. He's got titles. He's got 3. Great stat line. He averaged almost a triple-double for his career. Hard-working, blue-collar, modest guy. Is that absolutely necessary? No. But he is a player that us regular folks could relate to. Swagger, cockiness, he talks trash, and he backs it up. There was a game where he scored what was like 27 with his left hand. He also would go on the court, call a spot, go to that spot, and score on your ass. Memorable moments. Celtics versus Laker battles. The dream team. Behind the backboard shot. Following his own shot, makes the layup. 3-point contest winner. A lot of moments. And I could defer to the Laker fan, Doug, who could tell us a lot of sad memories of Bird beating the Lakers. There is also a quote from The Sandlot that I want to bring up. There are heroes and there are legends. Heroes get remembered, but legends never die. Let's see. He's always going to be talked about. He's also going to have newer players compared to him. He's always going to be relevant in any basketball sports conversation in Boston or in general. And all of that combined kind of makes him a legend. I mean, he's never going to be forgotten. Always going to be compared. You can kind of nitpick over the stat line between players. But the skill set for Larry Bird, he was a master of his craft. And that's why I say the nickname fits. And that's why he's on my list.
All right. Thank you, Ray. Well, that will lead to myself, who has him identically ranked to Ray. And my opening statement is very short. Bird, along with Magic, you can't say one without the other, saved basketball. And the entire NBA, today's players, 90s players, even the 80s players really, owe a debt of gratitude to these two men, because the NBA probably doesn't exist today without Larry and Magic. Does anybody in the room know what the most watched basketball game in the history of every basketball is?
Is it their college game against each other?
It is.
I'll say the NCAA championship.
To this day, it's still the most watched basketball game ever.
Trivia champion strikes again.
You haven't been here.
And he's still fucking winning.
You're not
That's right. You probably should get a bonus point for that.
You have to be here for the rest of the episodes to qualify for the league championship. Better not pull a LeBron. Sit out.
Alex is going to win then. I'm probably going to miss.
But they took that fame from that famous college basketball game and made the NBA relevant. The NBA, as I'm sure Uncle Doug can attest to, the NBA finals were on tape delay.
Oh, yeah.
They were played late at night.
Yep.
The NBA, there was multiple times, I watched an instance today where they said an NBA game that was supposed to be on TV was taken off TV so they could show reruns of Gunsmoke. The drug problem, the cocaine problem in the NBA in the 70s had people being kicked out of the league, players being arrested, players dying, and it had taken its toll on the league, and they were not doing well. We've talked about a handful of times with Mikan and with Russell and Wilt and with Doc and how important they were to the league and how moving it forward. But I think these two gentlemen may be the most important because the league was going towards folding altogether until it blew up in the 80s. And between these two guys and a couple years later, David Stern getting hold of the league and using these two guys and then Mike to boom it into what it is today. So that is my opening statement on, I guess, Larry and Magic. So that will lead us to Wade, who has them ranked 5th overall and number 2 on his small forward list. Wade?
Well, I have him as one of the 5 greatest players ever. So obviously, I think he's a terrific basketball player. When I think of Larry Bird, though, I think of he's one of the greatest and funniest trash talkers ever. You can YouTube his trash talking stories, and they're absolutely hilarious. You just have to YouTube it. I don't even have time to go through all the stories.
They are pretty fantastic.
They're all over TikTok
It's
as well.
extremely funny, all the stuff he would do and say to people. And 2, in my personal opinion, I think probably the greatest rivalry in sports history is Bird versus Magic, or just in general the 80s Celtics versus the 80s Lakers. At least that's probably my favorite. Obviously I wasn't alive, but you can go back and research and watch all these YouTube videos and watch all the games, and it's just so interesting and fun to listen and watch. And you have these 2 all-time great, I have them both in my top 5, and Magic and Bird going at it, and Jabbar and McHale and Parrish are all in the mix as well. It was just fascinating, and like Alex said, they saved the game of basketball, and yeah, that's what I think of usually. It's just like Alex said, Bird and Magic going at it, and his trash talking, and his amazing ability to shoot the ball and use his mind probably more than his body or athleticism. Maybe the smartest player we've ever seen, or at least one of the smartest players we've ever seen. And yeah, that's pretty much it for right now.
All right. And that will lead us to Uncle Doug, who has him 1 spot lower than Wade at number 6 overall, but also number 2 on his small forward list. Uncle Doug?
Yeah. And yes, Ray, there were times where I was not very happy with Larry Bird. But I always respected Larry. As much as the Lakers did not like the Celtics, you respected Larry because he had a ton of talent. 21,791 points. It's good enough for 41st on the scoring list. 8,900 rebounds, which is 62nd. 56, almost 5,700 assists, which is 44th. 1,500 steals, which is 40th. His playoff numbers are virtually the same as his regular numbers. I mean, Larry showed up all the time. He's not one of these guys that just played one or the other. He showed up all the time. So yeah, he being a Laker fan, definitely respected him. Didn't always like him, but definitely respected him. And yeah, that'll do for now.
Okay. And that will lead us finally to Drew, who has him ranked the lowest of any of us, a couple spots down at 8, and also 2 on his small forward list.
One of the moments I think about Larry is, like Ray talked about, his 3-point contest where he didn't even take off his warm-up. He just shot with it on, and he said, okay, which one of you is getting second place tonight?
Yeah.
That's one of the things I remember with Larry. And then, like Ray said, the left-handed thing. I think Didn't someone die or something? He said he was going to shoot left-handed.
He was saving his right hand for the Lakers.
Oh, that.
So, I think he scored more than.
I think he scored 40. Cause
I was going to say, when Ray said 27, I thought it was 43.
Oh,
I thought it was quite a bit more than 27.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was against Portland.
Yeah, and he was waxing him with the old left hand.
And then there's stories of Larry Bird trash talking with Sean Kemp, which I just find hilarious. Like Sean Kemp's like, he was just a bad mother. It's just so funny. Yeah, Larry's definitely a legend. Yeah. When Ray was talking his opening statement, I just couldn't stop thinking when people compare him to Joe Ingles. Like, he is not Joe Ingles. Like, I grew up today, and I've never watched Larry play basketball like that, and he's not Joe Ingles. I don't know why people think Larry Bird's freaking Joe Ingles.
There's always internet trolls. You just gotta ignore them.
That's how people always think. Larry would translate today's NBA as Joe Ingles. No, definitely not.
Yeah. People that say that never watched him play.
Him and Magic would, like the guys that put up triple doubles now, Magic and Bird would average triple doubles for probably 12 years straight. They almost did it then. They would definitely do it now.
They almost averaged triple doubles for their careers.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
Right, yeah.
and this is in the 80s where it was, half football, half basketball, and
Saying Larry's back. A bunch of people today would not play with his back injury. They wouldn't go lay on the court at the end of the games and just lay there with his back killing him.
yeah.
I would hate to tell you, but they'd be like, oh, he's got back spasms. He can't play tonight. Larry didn't care. He played. So that's what I got in my opening statement for Larry.
All right. Thank you, Drew.
Before we keep going, can I tell a real funny story about Larry Bird?
Absolutely.
This is my favorite Larry Bird story. One of the Bulls players was on. I'm pretty sure it was a Bull player. Was on like the Dan Patrick show or something, and he said they decided that they went and told the cheerleaders to go take Larry Bird out and get him drunk before the game. So like he's gonna be hungover. It was like the night before, I think, and they're gonna get him all fucked up, and he's gonna be hungover, and we're gonna come in and whoop his ass. And so the cheerleaders went and found him at this bar, and they're buying him all these drinks, and he gets all hammered, and the cheerleaders get hammered, and he comes in the next day, and some of the guys are sitting on the bench, and he walks by the bench and goes, "Thanks for all the drinks, boys." And then he went out, and they said he scored like 35, and they won by like 15 points. It's like the greatest story ever.
It's like the equivalent of the Wade Boggs beers on the flight story.
Yeah, the number grows like every time someone tells the story.
Yeah, that's great. No, there's all sorts of funny Larry stories. I remember Greg Kite, the journeyman center, signed with the Celtics, and Larry asked the Celtics not to trade Greg Kite for a few seasons because that was his drinking buddy. Kite didn't play, but he just wanted him to be his drinking buddy, so he wanted him to stay on the team. Which, I don't even remember what they call it, but there's a thing where every NBA Finals team from 1982 to until a couple years ago, had somebody on it that played with Shaq.
Yeah.
And Greg Kite was the connection to those Celtics teams because he played with Shaq in Orlando for a season in Shaq's rookie year or something. So, well, anyway, Larry is the founding member of the 50-40-90 Club. He did that multiple times. He was the first player to do it. So now we have, I think there's 9 members of the 50-40-90 Club now.
Something like that. We got.
Sounds about
See if we can count them out if you want.
Yeah, Larry, Reggie,
Steve Nash, Durant,
Curry,
Chris Middleton did it.
Chris Middleton, Malcolm Brogdon did it.
Yes.
And Dirk did it.
Dirk did it once. Who else?
Kyrie. Kyrie did it last year.
Yeah, but did he play enough to where they actually counted it?
Oh, that I don't know.
I don't know.
Well, I think we got the
Yeah.
the main SWAT of
Yeah.
them there. Yeah, we were. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was kind of thinking out loud, but I think I was wrong. Keep going. I was gonna say Klay Thompson, but I don't think he's ever shot 50% from the field.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if he ever shot 90% from the line either.
Maybe not. But I think because he shoots pretty much almost not only threes, but a lot of his shots are just only threes. So I think his field goal percentage is usually just a few bumps higher than his 3-point percentage, but which is usually extremely high. But
Speaking of free throw percentages, it has nothing to do with Larry Bird, but the top 2 players in the NBA this year in free throw percentage are teammates. It's Steph Curry and Jordan Poole are both shooting 92 point something from the free throw line. All right. Well, let's ask the obvious question that we ask every episode, but could Larry play in other eras of basketball?
Oh, definitely.
I mean,
Yeah.
I just said him and Magic would average a triple-double for
No,
double
yeah.
straight.
that's
I
true.
think they can play at any time.
I think today's NBA is really kind of made for Larry. Not only will we increase his 3-point volume, which I think is right up his alley, but the stretch 4 is kind of like right up his alley.
Right.
You
Yeah, he
know.
would move from a small 4 to a stretch 4 and seamlessly just take off and be. Yeah, I think his scoring would go way up.
And this is a guy that averaged double-digit rebounds, playing with 2 other big men in an era where there was less rebounds to go around. With today's increase in possessions and the rebounds going up, this could be a guy averaging 28 and 12 or something like that. That's with the instead of shooting, what's his career?
What?
He attempts 1.9 3-pointers a game for his career.
That's crazy.
So essentially 2. So instead of shooting 2 threes a game, he probably shoots 12 threes a game for his career.
He did the 50-40-90 thing back-to-back seasons. That's what I looked up the list.
Oh, okay.
And the only person we missed was Mark Price. Mark Price did it.
Oh, Mark Price.
We got.
yeah.
I think we got everybody else.
So did Kyrie's count then?
Yes, he played 54 games, and they counted it.
So there's 10 of them then.
Yeah, Steve Nash did it 4 times. That's intense. Him and Bird are the only ones to do it multiple times. So, yeah, pretty impressive.
Yes, very much so. I think we're talking about Bird. I think the biggest knock on Bird for his career is the shortness of his career. And not that he played he's not Pistol Pete. I'm not trying to say that.
Right.
But his only 13 seasons. It's really only 12 because he missed pretty much an entire season at one point. He played 6 games, I think. I got it right here in front of me. Yeah, 6 games. And his last 2 years in the league, where he was not Larry Bird anymore. So the shortness of his career is I think what is his biggest knock. And you guys could disagree with me if you disagree. I mean, but I think that's the biggest knock on Larry is he could because of his back injury, he didn't have the twilight of his career to add on to his totals or get a few extra All-NBAs or All-Star teams or any other awards he would have won or whatever the case may be. And I've always thought that it may have been the greatest time ever to be an NBA fan if Larry doesn't hurt his back and Magic doesn't get HIV and Michael is Michael. That early 90s could have been just the greatest time ever to be an NBA fan.
I mean, that would have been fantastic to watch
Yeah.
the battle for Michael to take over.
Yeah.
It would have been amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I think they could have held him off for another couple years, maybe. I mean, he had to beat Magic to get the first one anyway.
Right.
But then Magic obviously is done right after that, right?
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
91, right?
He
And
never-
he got HIV in 92.
Yeah.
So he really never plays another full season after that. And Bird Bird retires in what, 92?
Yeah. Well, the 91, 92 season. So before the 92 season, he retires.
so I mean-
he was on the Dream Team in '92, right?
Yeah, the summer of
Yeah,
'92.
He wasn't. I mean, he was on the team. He didn't play that much.
Yeah.
Right.
but-
He just came in and spotted up for threes for a handful of minutes a game.
And took
I believe.
pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but he needed to be there. I mean,
Yeah, Larry needed
if
it.
anybody needed to be there, Magic and Larry needed to be on that team with Michael, and
Yeah.
that was just special.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that is the one thing when people talk about, like, could this Olympic team or that Olympic team beat the Dream Team? That is one thing that a lot of people don't consider, is that Larry wasn't Larry.
Right.
Yeah.
If it's Magic, Larry, and Jordan, all prime,
Prime.
it's like, yeah, whatever. I don't even want to hear you talk.
that's-
You talk to me.
It's over.
Yeah.
That one team that I think Alex was gone that episode, we all talked about it. That one team in particular, I think could be close. They could play with them.
Mhm.
I think the one weakness was center because Dwight Howard couldn't play, so they ended up with Tyson Chandler. But they are loaded everywhere else.
I think is it the 08 team?
They brought up a couple in the article we read.
Yeah.
Because it was like LeBron, D Wade, Kobe, Carmelo, Kid, Chris Paul was in one of those.
Yeah.
Like Bosch. Oh my goodness, we're missing a handful.
It was
Really,
another really amazing.
and they really match up well with the Dream Team, except for the center spot, just because Dwight ends up not being able to go. Because I don't know if it's an injury or something else, but Dwight's not. Because if Dwight goes, I think it could really. You just have to look it up matchup by matchup, and I think it'd be interesting.
I mean, that's going to be the problem with a lot of today's Olympic teams is Ewing and Robinson are probably going to have their way with whoever they bring.
Yeah.
Because Embiid and Jokic can't play
Right.
because they're
Well,
not from here.
And
Right.
Carmelo and
This
Charles
last-
Barkley will be fine at the 4.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, this last Olympics, they brought Bam, but he is an undersized center.
Yes.
And then they had Draymond play center besides Bam when Bam got in foul trouble. Like, David Robinson and Ewing are just going to turn around and shoot right over top of Draymond. And they could honestly shoot maybe right over top of Bam. I mean, and Bam's a really good center.
not only
but-
that,
They made Rudy Gobert look good.
They
Yeah.
did. Yeah.
he was
And
really good
You
in
know
the
what would
second
have happened to Rudy back in the day?
Right. Not only that, but you're talking about at all times on the floor, you have either Malone or Barkley or either Ewing or Robinson. They are going to destroy today's teams on the board.
Mhm.
Offensive rebound and putbacks are going to be a constant thing, and they're going to keep you off the offensive boards. You're talking about, Malone and Barkley are two all-time great rebounders.
Mhm.
And Robinson is a really good rebounder, and Ewing's a good rebounder. I mean,
Yeah.
but if Ewing played today, he'd probably be considered a great rebounder.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Rudy Gobert has averaged, 13-plus rebounds for like 3-4 years in a row in today's NBA because he's the tallest guy out there a lot of times, or by far the biggest.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
Mhm.
there's only a handful of teams that he's going to play where there's someone his size, which is, the Sixers, the Nuggets, the Suns with Ayton. I mean,
That was my thing, though, with this year's team. And I don't want to make this a complete Olympic team thing, but they didn't need to bring a superstar. They didn't need Embiid or Jokic or even a guy like Ayton. Just bring a center.
Right.
They didn't bring anybody.
Yeah, bring a legit big man. He doesn't have to start. You could play a small ball lineup, but when we go to play Spain with the Gasols,
Right.
or where does Rudy play for?
France.
Yeah, France, or I'm sure some other
I
teams.
think
had
Australia had a big man too.
I think Bogut still plays
Yeah,
for him.
Bogut still plays for him, and of course, all the Antetokounmpos play for Greece.
Yeah.
Things like that. So it's like, I'm just trying to think of somebody else. But why couldn't you bring? No.
I mean, I think we said Ayton that one time.
Yeah,
yeah,
Ayton would have been great.
No, I agree. I'm not saying Ayton would be a problem. I'm just saying, like, it didn't even have to be an Ayton level player.
Right.
Just a big body.
Because, like, if you're playing two legit 7-footers, still bring Bam, and Bam would be a perfect power forward against those teams. Because Bam is a terrific all-around player.
Mm-hmm.
But in some of those, because a lot of these Olympic teams play like we played 20 years ago, where it's a lot more size and physicality. And the Olympics is more physical, and it's kind of like how the NBA was back in the day. Probably why a lot of our superstars struggled this year, and Kevin Durant had to save everybody.
Yeah, if it wasn't Kevin Durant, we would have got embarrassed.
Kevin Durant was the only one that could still dominate with the physicality and the regular rules.
Damian Lillard and all of them just fell apart.
Jason Tatum he was pretty decent.
He started bad and picked it up.
Yeah.
As they went on. Yeah.
Damian Lillard was terrible.
Terrible.
Yeah, he
God
was.
awful. He did not like the physicality. There was a couple other ones that really struggled with the physicality. I think Draymond was good. He was just undersized.
Well, but that kind of proves the point we've been talking about Draymond since episode 1, is that Draymond could only get away being a big today.
Right.
Yeah.
But what about a guy like, you could have brought Jared Allen?
That would have been perfect. Really great defender and rebounder.
Yeah.
He could rim run and roll off picks. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. Or JaVale McGee.
He blocked shots.
Yeah.
That's what Tyson did for those.
Exactly. That's the perfect example, Wade. Is they brought Tyson Chandler over not to be a star, not to score. He just came over, blocked some shots, grabbed some rebounds, banged with big guys that other countries had and then he'd go back and sit his ass on the bench.
It was Tyson Chandler. He was a former defensive player of the year in the NBA.
Yeah.
He was a very good defender and rebounder, but he wasn't a superstar. But you don't need a superstar center when you have LeBron and Kobe and D Wade and Carmelo and
DeAndre Jordan, Andre Drummond. Either of those guys be fine.
Yeah,
DeAndre's really old now.
Yeah, Jordan is really old and kind of piss poor at this point. A few years ago, he did go, didn't he? Though didn't he go or not a few years ago, but a
that
few
kind of
Olympics
player would have
ago.
been perfect, prime DeAndre Jordan. Yeah.
Yeah. Drummond would probably be fine now.
Oh, he'd rack up some boards, man.
Yeah.
It's a board machine.
Yeah. Well, I guess we can talk about Larry Bird again. Something I do. Well, first off, we talked about Patrick Ewing a minute ago. I didn't realize this until today, but Larry Bird averages more rebounds a game than Patrick Ewing.
Yep.
Crazy story. So Larry had just finished his senior season at Indiana State, and he's waiting for the training camp. Because he'd already been drafted the year before, and he was bored, and his brother, I can't remember which one, called him and said, "Hey, we're a man short on our slow pitch softball team.
Oh boy,
will you come play slow pitch with us today?" So Larry's like, "Yeah, I'll come play." So they stick him in right field, and a guy hits a ball out into right field, and Larry goes and tracks it down. And I guess he catches it funny, and he breaks his index finger. His index finger on his right hand, his shooting hand. And so first off, he's like, "Oh man, like the Celtics are gonna kill me. Like I just broke the finger on my shooting hand, 2 weeks before training camp. Like this is awful." Well. So he tries to hide it. Like he just tapes it up instead of going and getting it fixed. And for the rest of his life, his right index finger is stiff. He can't bend his right index finger for the rest of his life. And he was shooting 40% from 3. And so I tried this, and I taped my index finger straight and tried to shoot a basketball, and it's really hard. The ball wants to roll off your hand. Because you can't manipulate your finger to hold the ball right. Your finger's just straight stiff. I see everybody in the room kind of trying it, and it's it's really weird. But it just made me think how well would he have shot if he'd had full use of his index finger.
Yeah.
I've heard Jackie McMullen talk about that on podcasts. She pretty much said the same thing. She's like, imagine if his finger wasn't messed up. It's like, yeah, that's fair. Fair point.
Well, does anybody else have any Larry Bird things they want to talk about?
I was honestly just kind of waiting for litigation because I figured we had a few interesting
Yeah, Wade's been
subjects.
missing out on litigation. Alex has been trying to ask him questions.
Yeah, I did. I've had a few for Wade the last few weeks, but I actually wasn't prepared for Wade to be here tonight.
Of course.
So I don't have one, but I can ask him one. It's not that big a deal. But I do have litigation stuff. I got you, Ray.
I bet you do.
Well, you and I have him identically ranked, so, but I have an interesting one for you
Oh my God.
because you've been super high on somebody, but you
Don't
have
tell me it's Charles Oakley.
no, it's not Charles. There's like 30
I
something.
think I know you're
difference
going to tell
At
me.
this
'cause I
point, we
looked
should
at
have moved
my
on to
list.
Charles Oakley.
Yeah,
But it's still fun to talk about.
but you've been super high on this guy, and
Okay.
but you have Larry ranked a decent amount higher. So I'm wondering why you have Larry ranked ahead of Scotty.
Well, because Larry's a better player than Scotty. Like, what is the problem here with that? Wow, I got an easy one this week. Wow.
All right, well that didn't work out the way I thought.
You ain't going to get me in that trap, son.
Yeah, I'm usually your Pippen supporter, buddy, but I wasn't supporting
Yeah.
if you
not
said
supporting
Pippen was
that.
better.
Larry's a Hoosier. Larry's the only coach that ever take the Pacers to the finals, so Pippen can suck my ass this episode.
Oh shit! All right. Well,
I saw this TikTok of Larry and when he was playing Michael in one of the games, and Reggie hits like a shot at the very end of the game, but there's like 2 seconds left, and everyone's cheering, and Larry's like this.
I've seen
blank
that.
blank
Yeah.
face, and he's like, it's like Larry knows Michael Jordan's on the other side with 2 seconds left. And, like everyone's jumping up and down, Reggie's yelling at the crowd, everyone's cheering. Larry's like just sitting there with a blank face. He's like, it's not over, guys.
speaking of guys talking about Larry, just remind me of this. I saw a couple quotes today that I thought were interesting. They had a quote from James Worthy that said, it was harder to guard Larry Bird than it was to guard Michael Jordan. Because Michael was better than everybody else, but Michael played basketball like everybody else. He's like, Larry was smarter than me and was always ahead of me, and I struggled to play against him. Isaiah Thomas said, if you locked me, and talking about himself, Larry, Magic, and Mike in a room, like last man standing style, Larry would come out of the room, no doubt about it. Yeah, those 2 statements were cool. Anyway, I got one for you, Drew.
Can I guess who it is?
Sure.
Is it Jerry West?
It is.
Yes, we went over this the last 3 weeks. He's
Why
going
do you have Jerry?
7th. Yeah, I was a little high. I'll tell you right now what I was thinking a year ago. That one Finals MVP I was so high on, and so yeah, he's gonna go down. Can we just say that?
Okay. I was gonna say Larry's got a couple Finals MVPs.
Yeah, I know. Larry. Tim and Larry both gonna go ahead of Jerry West. Jerry's gonna come down a little bit.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Uncle Doug, would you like to guess as well?
Wilt?
It's Wilt.
Yeah, I already figured that. I can tell you what I was thinking, probably.
Okay.
It may change, but Larry's got 3 titles and 3 MVPs, and Wilt's got 2 titles and 4 MVPs. And so I probably went with the points and the rebounds. But yeah, Wilt may go down a little. Larry might come up one, so then I'll be like Wade.
That's right. All right. Well, I don't have one for you, Wade, but I'm just gonna ask it. I mean, honestly, I didn't ask about 2 of the guys that I think are commonly brought up with Larry because I thought we would talk about them, and we really haven't. So I'll just ask you about one of them, Wade.
Okay.
Is LeBron.
Bron?
Yep.
Well, with old Bird and LeBron, at this point, LeBron's just done a lot more. I'm gonna do a Sports the NEMO way first here and go on a LeBron support fest here. I mean, if you want to compare their numbers and ability at their peak, I think you can make a little case for Bird there. But after that, I mean, James either beats him or destroys him in all career totals. He has more championships. He has more Finals MVPs. He has more MVPs. All-Star selections, All-NBAs, all defensive teams. Their career averages go back and forth. But due to the back injury and that much, LeBron's just done a lot more at this point. So as much as I like Larry Bird and I would like to put him above LeBron, I thought LeBron should be number one at small forward.
Well, maybe I'm wrong. I'm not I didn't research this or anything, but I think it's hard to put anybody, even Mike and those guys, at this point against LeBron's longevity.
Well, that's one of his big.
Like playing at this level, 19 years in, is just not something we've seen.
Yeah, I mean, he's the first player ever to go 30,000 points, 10,000 boards, 10,000 assists. I mean,
yeah,
pretty remarkable.
And in his 19th year in the league, he just averaged like 30 points, 7 rebounds, and 6 assists or whatever, which is hella impressive.
But that was just part, like, even if you take out the career totals, because I mean that was just part of the reason. He does have one more chip. He does have 2 more Finals MVPs, 1 more regular season MVP. Obviously, all the NBAs and All-Stars are more due to his longevity. I mean, it just doesn't stack up good against Bird in the long run of things.
I agree. Now I'll just give you my reasoning for putting Bird ahead of LeBron.
Okay.
First off, I think, and I don't know if I've ever said this before, but it's not going to surprise anybody in the room. LeBron is a stat chaser and stat hunter in the way I look at Westbrook. And I think this year was a huge example of it, where LeBron, if he didn't have his stats, would go back into blowout losses to make sure he had a good game. And stuff like that, or he would, and whenever he set out back-to-backs, he always set out against the good team and played against the bad team, things like that. LeBron is really, really worried about his legacy and how everything is viewed through that lens, and it's odd sometimes. The other part of it is the eras. There's never been an easier time. Well, maybe not never, but there hasn't been an easier time in a few decades to play basketball than now. LeBron doesn't play 19 years in the league like this 30 years ago. And I had somebody recently who is a big LeBron fan say, you can't talk about the physicality of the 80s and 90s and use it against LeBron because that's not basketball.
Can I ask who said it?
RB, actually.
RB. Oh.
Because he was very thoroughly disgusted with us after the Steph Curry episode.
Yeah.
Yes. But my response is, I'm not necessarily holding the lack of physicality against LeBron. I'm saying that, in this case, if Larry was able to put up similar numbers while having to deal with that physicality, what would he have done if he played in a game like today where nobody's allowed to touch you, and there's nobody standing in the paint, and there's no shot blockers left?
And he gets to shoot more threes.
It is a different style of game, 100%. But there's a huge, massive difference between LeBron and Larry's usage percentage. Like LeBron's like third or fourth all time in usage percentage.
Yeah, his usage rate's like 30 or something like that.
Yeah,
Bird is like 20.
24, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like 60th all time in usage percentage.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, like if Larry had LeBron's mindset, he would have just joined the Lakers and won 12 championships. And then when Magic got HIV, he would have said, "Oh, my bad, I'm going to sign with the Bulls."
Now we're up to 15.
Right. And then when MJ got kicked, whenever MJ left because of his dad, Larry would still be playing because he was like doing like half the work because he's playing with all these other guys. And then he'd be like, "Oh, I'm gonna go play with Olajuwon." After that, like
or maybe go to Orlando.
Maybe that would be great.
He's gonna find not always the front runners, but someone close that he can still, and then he'll ruin those other franchises as he won't leave those franchises and well-beings.
I mean, I was listening to I don't know if you're caught up, Wade, but I know you've been listening to it too. The Jackie McMullen icons.
I'm caught up, yeah.
Yeah, and they were talking in that episode about, I can't remember who said it, but they were talking about, because LeBron refused to come on, but like D Wade and them were on it, and they were like, LeBron saw that our title window was closing in Miami, and he needed to leave because it was important to his legacy to keep winning.
D Wade and Kevin Love are the ones that kind of talk for him the whole time.
Yeah. And I get it to an extent, but at the same time, you already joined up with the second best player in the league. Like, the top two players in the league play on the same fucking team. Plus another top 10 player. And then we had to leave to go get a bunch more talent because these guys were aging. And then you had to jump again, and not you, but you used your friendship with an agent to get Anthony Davis to get him to LA, and so you could play with him, and then add Russell Westbrook to the whole shit show
and run our team.
Russell.
Russell's
a negative now.
It's just
he was never a positive.
that's cold, man. That's cold.
Well, was there a positive moment?
You can use Westbrook as a negative now in the LeBron. I'm just making a joke. Keep going.
No, you're fine. I didn't
make another one about Westbrook if you like.
Yeah. It's just been all about jumping around to the best situation to maximize trying to win, but not only trying to win, but win the way I want to win. It's not really about the team. We talk, or not we, because I definitely don't fall into that category. We talk, media and people around talk about how LeBron always makes everybody better. First off, I don't find that to be true. But second off, he's not really a team player in all reality. He ruins franchises, and he leaves them in shambles, and he's got so many coaches fired at this point, it's ridiculous. And when he doesn't get his way, he pouts and throws fits and sabotages games and parts of seasons, or in this case, a season. And sits out unnecessarily because he's mad, or I'm going a lot into I know this isn't the LeBron episode, but those are the things I think about with LeBron. As we always talked about like Wade, for instance, like in the Wilt, I think it was the Wilt episode, Wade, where you're like, man, what if Shaq played in the 1960s? And we were all like, man, he would have been Wilt. He would have, utterly dominated. I kind of do that with guys sometimes when I compare them, especially these upper echelon guys. And then when I do that with LeBron, I'm like, well, what if, instead of trying to beat Magic, Larry just said, oh, fuck it, I'll just join with you and we'll win all the championships. And then we'd be sitting here talking about Larry and Magic won 9 or 10 championships because, The Lakers were in the finals 8 times or whatever during
Well,
that.
imagine Magic, Larry, and Kareem all on the same team.
Oh my God.
I mean, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be
I mean,
ridiculous.
that's insane.
Now, but if you want to argue longevity, and it is a legit argument, I'm not acting like it isn't. LeBron does. I mean, like I said way earlier in the podcast, longevity is Larry's weakness. I mean, that is, I think, the biggest argument for Magic against Larry. Is Magic was able to keep playing at a higher level longer. And so, like, and LeBron has played at a higher level even longer than that. But again, and this is his opinion, not a fact, I just don't believe LeBron could have done that before now, because nobody's body held up like that. Nobody. And now we're seeing it more and more in all the sports. So that's where I come up with that. I know I just was very long-winded there, but somebody else can talk back to me now, I guess.
I mean, I think I'm trying to think how to word some of this. I mean, I'm not a huge LeBron fan. I don't think that's
No, we're bringing one of
much of a
those
secret.
next week.
Yeah.
But
We need to, because none of us are big LeBron.
It'll be
Yeah.
like this for an hour of us bashing on it.
and I think I agree with pretty much everything you said, and I think I've said it, a lot of that stuff in different episodes. I think we've all taken our turns bashing on LeBron. But, I mean, some of it's just like, he does stat hunt, I agree. And with a lot of those guys, though, they didn't really win it all. I mean, but he does have the 4 chips. He does form super teams. Obviously, you can't come close to denying that. But all the guys at the very top of our list played on the greatest teams ever assembled. So, I mean, it's just, I don't know. It's hard. But just for me with LeBron, like, he did stack the deck, especially in Miami. And then with the other ones, he definitely gave himself great opportunities to win. But, if I'm a huge LeBron fan, then, people are just going to probably point out, Bird played with McHale, Parrish, and DJ. Magic had Kareem and Cooper and Worthy and all those guys. Now, they didn't jump around, obviously, like you said. But, I mean, just for an example, I have Magic and Kareem at 2 and 3 on my list, and they played together. And Worthy made a list. Cooper's on the verge of being in the Hall of Fame. Bird is in everyone's top 7 or 8.
Hey, yeah.
McHale made 3 lists. Parrish made a list. DJ is in the Hall of Fame. Walton probably doesn't count. He was old then, but I don't know. It just.
I'm not denying they played with great players. Every teams that win multiple championships have multiple great players.
Yeah.
You just can't do it otherwise. I don't think anybody I'm not saying we're trying to make that case, Wade.
I'm just trying to point out the other side.
Yes, I agree. And in Magic's case, I think that argument is a little stronger because he did come right in and play with Jabbar. Boom. And they won a championship his rookie year.
Jabbar probably was still the best player in the NBA at that point.
Yeah, it was either him or Doc, probably.
I think he won the MVP.
Or Moses. One of those 3 guys.
Didn't he win the MVP Magic's rookie year, Uncle Doug? Wasn't Jabbar the MVP?
I'm not sure what.
Like regular season, not finals.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I think it's like his first or second year, I thought Jabbar was the MVP.
He might have been. Him, Doc, and because remember, Moses won 3 right in that stretch.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Doc won 1. I think Doc won 81.
Well, anyway, Kareem's at least in the top 3 players.
Yeah, he's one of the greatest players in the NBA,
still,
if not the greatest player in the NBA at that point. Yeah, he's down no contest. Now, we haven't said this before, and I probably should have. When Larry's rookie season, they set the record for biggest jump and record in the history of the NBA.
Biggest turnaround.
Yeah, biggest turnaround. Because I think they won 60 games his rookie season.
Mm-hmm.
And that's pre-McHale also, and pre-DJ. Parrish is there at that point.
Right.
But not the other two.
Yeah. And the longevity thing I think is one of the trickiest because he's definitely aided by today's NBA. I don't think that's questionable. But at the same time, he is one of the, if not the biggest physical freak we've ever seen.
He is a freak.
So I do think he would have had extreme longevity no matter what. I just don't think it would have been quite to this level. Like, say he gets drafted 10, 15 years before he did. Could he still be playing at year 19? Probably. Would he average 37-7 or whatever it was? Probably not. That's kind of my take on it. But he is an absolute physical freak.
He is.
Maybe the biggest combination we've ever seen of speed and explosiveness and pure strength and
he's kind of a physical combination and explosiveness and all those things of Malone and Barkley.
Yeah.
You know, he's got the Malone where he's stacked. He's a little bit taller. You know, you got the strength and everything, but he's kind of got that. Oh shit! You shouldn't be able to move that fast, being this big of Barkley.
Yeah. Well, so we don't dive too far deep into our LeBron conversation. Shall we move on in litigation?
Yeah. Well,
we still have a LeBron episode to do.
Before I know I asked you, but before we move on, because I think Doug and Drew both have LeBron ranked higher as well. Do either one of you want to add anything before we move on?
I would say just the longevity of LeBron. He's still going.
Wade pretty much summed it up. He's done so much. I mean, 4 titles and.
I'm not saying that Larry couldn't have done it. It's just that Larry got hurt and LeBron still.
Well, and we've said this before. You kind of got to judge people by what they did, not what if.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's the end of litigation then. So should we give our closing statements on Larry?
Sure.
All right, Drew.
Larry was a great shooter. I wish that he would have been able to show it off a little bit more because obviously everyone knew he was a great shooter. Just back then, we saw the greatest shooter in the league shot 2 threes a game. So that tells you how far we've come. And there's been plenty of moments when us Laker fans were not happy with Larry, but you got to respect the guy no matter what because he was a great player. And that's all.
All right. Well, that will lead us to Uncle Doug.
All right. Well, I can sum my thoughts on Larry up in one little tidbit here. He is the only person in the history of the NBA to be Rookie of the Year, MVP, Finals MVP, All-Star MVP, Coach of the Year, Executive of the Year. Only one to do it.
That's pretty impressive.
It is.
By the way, New Orleans is up 11 at halftime over the Spurs in the playing game tonight.
Who did the Hawks and Hornets already play?
The Hawks won.
Hawks won, yeah.
By quite a little bit.
I kind of thought that the Trae Young just seems to show up in big games.
Isn't Gordon Hayward out too?
I believe he is.
Yeah.
Gordon
think so.
Hayward's kind of a nice glue piece to how the Hornets go.
Yep. All right. Well, that will lead to Wade.
Well, I mean, I have Larry in my top 5, so I feel like I'm paying him quite a bit of respect here, being one of the 5 greatest basketball players ever. And that's even with the kind of shortened career a little bit. Has a little bit of everything in his game. Had achieved a little bit of everything. Just pretty much like we've already said, the only thing that people have above him were just a little bit longer sustained success due to his back injury. So there is a little bit of a what-if factor, but he still accomplished a ton. One of the greatest all-around players ever. And I think it's one of the coolest things ever that he was this quiet, non-social guy, and he got on the floor and just turned into a straight savage.
Straight savage.
Talked mad shit to everybody and just nailed jumpers right in your face, and it was absolutely fantastic. But yeah, that's Larry Bird for me.
All right. Well, that will lead to myself, who I would say, yeah, I think we've covered pretty much what needs to be said about Larry. He's all-time great. I think he currently, with like today's generation, outside of Drew, I guess, kind of underrates Larry. Honestly, probably mainly just because he's white.
Yeah, we didn't get into that whole thing.
I'm not trying to make it a race thing. I'm really not. But, I mean, that's really what it kind of seems to boil down to in this instance. Even though, like I said a couple of episodes ago, like two unathletic white guys are top 5 players in the NBA right now, and Jokic and Luka. So I think, and he can outshoot both of them. So I think that kind of says what I need to say. I just think guys need to go back and watch. And if you turn into ESPN Classics, just watch it. Just turn it on while you're doing stuff around the house. It won't be on too long before you'll see a Celtics-Laker game. Like, they're on ESPN Classics all the time.
And they're awesome.
Yeah. And you'll be able to see that he's not fucking Joe Ingles. So, Ray?
Larry, he was a dedication and pride is probably the two main things that he really strived to have. And since we're just comparing LeBron, I'm going to leave it on this one. That's what LeBron does not have. He leaves everybody in shambles, doesn't have any pride for himself or the team. It's all about winning and legacy. Larry, he was there to compete, and he was good at it, and he made it known that every time he stepped on the floor, you're going to go against him, you're going to go against the best. LeBron thinks he's entitled, upper echelon against everybody, and he wants to be the GOAT, but he keeps trying to copy Michael Jordan. He doesn't set any legacy for himself. But Larry is probably the quintessential, probably textbook, all-around player NBA's ever had, personality-wise, skill-wise, all that. And we can look at the numbers, and it shows thoroughly throughout his whole career, the stories that we've told, everything. Just a nice, down-to-earth guy who set out pride, basketball, dedication, and just wanted to compete and be the best. So,
all right. Well, that will end our Larry Bird portion of this episode if I don't unplug my microphone with my foot. And lead us into trivia. And Ray, can I have a marker?
yeah, I got to find a board myself.
There you go, Ray.
Don't worry, I got my question ready as always.
I got one, Doug.
All right. So, Drew, what do you got for us, buddy?
Who was the first player to make a three-pointer?
Oh.
Wow. Okay. Ooh. Hitting us off with a banger.
So this would have been Magic and Larry's rookie season. Because that was the first year of the three-point line.
I give you a hint. 6 players did it on the opening night. I mean, that's not really a hint, but I just want to say that.
I mean, that narrows it down to the 6 players we don't know.
Okay. So can I ask this, Drew? Are we even going to know who this person is when you say it?
Probably not. He was one of the early games that night, so he did it in the first quarter. So.
Oh, great.
All right.
I have no idea, but I'm just going to write a name down.
Oh, man.
I got to guess.
I gotta guess.
Ray, Wade?
I wrote someone down.
Yeah, we'll go with that one, I guess.
All right. I put Nate Archibald.
Okay.
I said Norm Nixon.
Let's put Dr. J.
Okay.
And I put Isaiah Thomas.
It's Chris Ford.
I know who that is.
Oh, yeah, I know who that is.
Yeah.
So he hit it in the first quarter of early games that day. So,
Okay.
but 5 other people did it later.
Was he playing for the Celtics then?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. So, who would like to go next?
I can go. I got one.
I don't know.
All right, here we go.
Draft?
Yep. 78 draft, round 1, number 6, Larry Bird. All right. The draft was much bigger then.
Yes.
At number 60, in round 3, a famous Laker was taken. Who was it?
I have no idea.
I gotta try and think of someone. A famous Laker.
I think Wade's got it.
What was the year again?
Quick. What's that, Ray?
What was the year again?
78 draft.
78.
I have an educated guess, but I don't know.
Yes. I think. All right.
How you feel about yours, Wade?
Oh, 50-50.
Yeah, okay. All right.
Okay, I think I got one.
All right.
Is that everybody?
Yeah.
What you got?
Cooper.
Byron Scott.
Cooper.
John Sally.
At number 60 in the 3rd round from New Mexico, Michael Cooper.
I knew he came out the year before Magic,
Yeah.
so I was like,
Same draft as Larry.
yeah.
I always thought that was kind of neat because he usually guarded Larry a lot of
Yeah.
times. And 3rd round, though, I mean,
And
all
then
those titles and everything else.
I think he tore his ACL his rookie season, I think, didn't he?
May have, yeah.
And they didn't know if
it
he was
a
going
while
to.
before he started playing a lot. But yeah, back then the draft was what, 9-10 rounds?
I think 10.
Yeah,
I think
something
it's
crazy
10.
like that.
Holy smoke. Alex finally gets a point, but then Wade gets one too.
I've been shut out 3 weeks in a row, I think.
Yeah. Well, Wade started writing pretty quick. I thought, oh, Wade's figured it out.
Man, I need a better pen, Ray. I can't get this damn pen to write.
All right, hold on, I got plenty.
No, I mean actual pen.
I got one of those too.
Thanks. You can have that back.
All right, cool.
Yeah, much better. All right, who would like to go next?
I'll go, but I think I might have asked it already. But we're gonna find out if I did or not.
All right.
Okay. Who scored 89 points with the New York Knicks in their first 3 starts in early 2012?
So they scored 89 points in 3 games, is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
Okay. In 2012?
yeah.
Got it.
I knew. I asked him.
You haven't asked it, all right, but I think I
Oh,
remember.
okay.
I think I remember who this is.
Okay.
This is my prime basketball arguing days with my boys. I think I remember who was here. Yeah, this was any other decade I wouldn't know, but since I remember watching this, I'm pretty sure.
Ooh, I'm not.
I have a guess.
Yeah,
That's all it is.
I'm not going to hold you up because I don't even have a guess. Go ahead.
I think I know.
What you got, Drew?
Jeremy Lin.
Oh, shit, I didn't think about that.
Jeremy Lin.
I put Amari Stoudemire.
Yep, it's virtual insanity.
Yep.
Oh,
Intrusive.
Man.
Wade's back and he's already hit a twofer.
Damn. Guess he rested his knees quite a bit.
I was going to say, is Wade going to hit a 3?
God, let's hope so.
All right, so is that Wade now?
Yeah, unless you want to go.
Yeah, go for it.
All right. Where'd it go? Oh. What player holds the record for most points scored in a game against the Seattle Supersonics / Oklahoma City Thunder franchise?
Wow. So we're just looking for a player.
Yes, you don't have to tell me the amount.
Okay.
I'll just tell you. This person scored 60 points against the Thunder / Sonics, which is the record against them.
I still don't know, but yeah.
60 against the size.
I have the list of the highest points scored against every franchise, and there's no no name players on here. So
If you scored 60, I'm pretty sure I know who you are.
Yes.
Yeah, no, average Joe just goes out, drops a 60 bomb.
I think there is one player, maybe two, that either aren't or will not be in the Hall of Fame. The rest of them are all surefire Hall of Famers.
Well, you'll have to tell us who some of those not surefire Hall of Famers are when we're done.
That's fine.
I have my answer, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah, I got to guess.
Drew, Ray?
Ready.
Let me write something down. Okay.
Yeah, let's do that.
I don't know. I'm just writing something down. All right, I'm ready.
All right, I put Damian Lillard.
Put James Harden.
I said MJ.
I said Kobe.
You ready? It's fucking Tom Chambers.
Oh, man.
Oh my God.
Wow.
The only non-great player on the list is Damon Stoudemire. He has the record against the Pelicans with 54 points. Wilt has like 10 of them.
That does.
Jordan is on a handful. Kobe, Harden, Malone. They're all on multiple. George Gervin's on there. Melo. Lillard is on one. Devin Booker when he got a 70. Donovan Mitchell's on one. It was like, is that Thompson made one?
David Thompson.
Yes. Elgin Baylor. David Robinson. I mean, yeah, it's pretty much. Tony Parker's one randomly.
Who did he do it against?
The Minnesota Timberwolves, he's dropped 55 on him.
He's a Hall of Famer, though.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I can't remember if Chambers made the Hall of Fame or not, but I knew Stoudemire isn't. I thought Chambers didn't get in.
Freaking Tom Chambers.
I think everybody else will make it. Or is
He's become a legend just because of our podcast.
when I saw him, I had to ask the question.
Oh, yeah.
No, Tom Chambers and Charles Oakley are going to be guys we bring up even when we're not talking about basketball.
Right.
Yeah.
Just because those first couple episodes.
All right, so I guess that's me, huh? I got a three-parter here for you guys.
Oh, boy.
So is there 3 points available?
No.
Oh, Jesus.
I would like you to name. It says the season's over now, so it's official. The league leaders in points per game, rebounds per game, and assists per game. Who led the league in those three stats?
Is it points, rebounds, and assists?
Yes.
Okay. All right, I got 3 down.
All right. Anybody else?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Give me a second.
I don't want to, Drew.
Well, too bad.
All right, I got to guess. It's not good, but it's a guess.
No, that's not right.
That tapping's back.
I think it's on here. It had to go away.
It did.
All right.
All right, what y'all got?
I said Embiid, Gobert, and CP3.
I have Embiid, Gobert, and CP3.
I have Embiid, Chris Paul, and Gobert.
I have Embiid, and then the Joker for assists.
You three are correct.
Oh.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Wait for 3.
Wait, did get a 3.
I got a 2. Let's go.
Which other one did you get, Ryan?
The Jeremy Lin one.
Oh, yeah.
That's
yeah.
right.
I'll be honest. I had like 3 nicks in my head, and when you instantly went to it, I had a feeling it was Jeremy Lin.
Gosh dang it.
I was like, ooh. I feel like that's, Lin's sanity is something that would pop right in Drew's head.
Yeah, I remember when he popped off and then
So I was like, Melo, maybe Amari, maybe Lin.
yeah, because Carmelo came close.
And Amari's first year, he tore it up.
Yeah, he averaged 26 that year.
Yeah.
So is this like our biggest scoring night ever?
It might have been.
I mean, you got a point, I got a point, Drew got 2, and Wade got 3?
Yeah.
Wow.
7 points in one night.
Wow.
Usually we just shut everybody out for 2 straight weeks.
Yeah.
So
Man.
All right. Well, I thought my question was going to be a little bit harder than it was, apparently. But all right. So after today's tallies, which there were a few of, the scores are as follows. Ray with 23. Drew and Uncle Doug are now tied with 47. Alex with 54. And Wade with 61. And Wade's lead was extended.
Well, Wade sets out a week or two and come back and just smokes us.
More than just a week or two, like a month.
I'm looking forward to football.
For football.
I'm pretty knowledgeable about football.
I guess you weren't here last week when he brought it up, Wade, but Ray got us a trophy.
Oh, yeah.
I actually stopped by and talked to Ray the other day, and he showed it to me.
Yeah.
So, yes.
I think that's what motivated him.
No, is that why you got your 3 points today, Wade?
I like that trophy.
Yes.
I think it'd be better would be a nice Thor hammer or something.
No. Well, we can't make it just for you.
Yeah. Fair enough.
All right, well, we appreciate you tuning in for our Larry Legend episode, and we will appreciate if you tune in next week for our LeBron James episode. You get to hear more of our LeBron James opinions.
And a guest.
And a guest. Yes, we're supposed to have Jared Schaller back next week for his second episode. He was here last for Allen Iverson. So, and thanks for tuning in to Sports the NEMO Way.